Here. Let's see. Let me get everything set up on my side here. A little delayed. I got workers over at the house, and I am under the weather, so almost lost track of time this morning. Watching this market finally pull back, and definitely pulling back in a big way. So I have you guys over here looking at my Twitter page. I guess call it X if we need to. But the one I want to highlight is this one because it referenced an old friend of mine who does very, very, very well in the market. And he always referred to small caps or growth stocks as, they go up like rockets and they fall like rocks. And I think that is very relevant and pertinent to what we were seeing in today or even yesterday's action out there. So yeah, up like rockets and fall like rocks. So Hive is one of them. Some of the Bitcoin names they've bounced, but when you go straight up like that, you just kind of run out of support, and I think that is kind of what we're seeing out there today. All right, so let me get everything else kind of worked out here. Yep. Good morning, brighter side. Let's see. Yep. Happy New Year to everybody. Got to make sure we got that. Welcome to 2024. Be sure to write those different numbers on your calendars. And hasn't this been interesting? And that they basically held the market. They held the market up until the new year. So if we look at the SPY, and you could see, and we were in the Moxy group, we were talking about this, and part of my theory was that since this market has just gone straight up like this, starting in November, that uh, that big traders, institutions, firms were unlikely to really want to take profits in 2023. They're going to want to do it in 2024, probably for tax purposes and anything else like that. And so what they did is they bumped it up like this, and then they just held it. Now, underneath the surface, yes, names started to pull back just before the end of the year, but for the most part, they all kept them up like this. Even Apple, I heard there were some shenanigans like that came out here. And again, if we look at Apple, this is something that we were talking about in the Moxie group. And I said, yeah, look, we are starting to see a pullback with Apple. Now, the rest of the market was staying up. The indexes were staying up, which I thought was actually pretty good as an indication showing us that it wasn't just the Magnificent Seven that were holding the market up. It was actually pretty broad based. But I could see that Apple was starting to pull back and that there was still a pretty good gap here between price and the daily 50, and that was likely to get filled at some point. And so I guess analysts came out with a downgrade or something with Apple, but of course not until after the new year, right here. So again, they wanted to keep all of their profits, all of their gains, and then they come out with the downgrade in the new year. I mean, isn't that fantastic? So yeah, definitely some shenanigans going out there. I guess you can call it market manipulation, but that is just what they do. And as far as Apple goes, it was pretty clear there was a double top right there. And then more specifically with the Moxie indicator, and for those of you who don't have the Moxie indicator out there, this is why I try to do these things to showcase and say, look, the indicator helped me. This is the whole reason why I was able to get someplace and actually make headway with the market, is because I came up with this indicator, figured out some stuff, it spoke to me, and then I had to go learn how this indicator worked over the course of a year, and then I basically built a trading business around it. So that's all I do, is I just show you guys what it does, and then help you guys understand how it communicates to us. So what you can see, number one, is that at the top here, you can see price was also just getting messy. It was definitely a difference from a trend here to where it was up here, and you could even see with the arrows, red, green, red, green. It no longer had a strong momentum. It was starting to run out of that momentum and that energy, and something was changing. And you could see that for as much as price was trying to go up, look at the Moxie indicator. It wasn't looking very happy. It was right at zero. Sometimes it was above, sometimes it was below, which means positive and negative. It was red, green, red, green, red, green. It was running into a lot of chop, and the momentum was gone. And that was the big heads up that you guys needed to be able to pay attention to. The other thing is you could see from peak to peak that there was also a huge negative divergence here. And so that meant that even though price tried to go higher or did go higher, it did it on less and less energy. And these are the things that the Moxy indicator really does well with divergences to help tell you when these things are going to start rolling over. Of course, there's a lot in the price action that we could talk about too, but from just the Moxy perspective, I wanted to show you that. So, and we saw the same thing with the SPY because the SPY, the Nasdaq, and the Apple all kind of trade the same, or at least move the same. But you can see the same thing. Look at price try to come up, and then look at the Moxy indicator, just not very happy. And you could see even through here on the last few days of the new year or of the 2023 that the market was up here and the Moxy indicator just took a plunk to the downside and then continued to roll over. And look at this, we got a perfect Moxy sell signal right at the top. So very, very nice. Of course, as I said, price action was telling us a lot of things that we needed to know also. And so far, we just got to let this pullback happen. Now, I'm never quite sure where a pullback is going to go. You just kind of let the market do its thing, see what it wants to do. And we're certainly getting that. And we'll have to see where this thing wants to go. It could continue sideways for a while. That would be fine. As long as the S&P doesn't just continue to keep drilling to the downside, names are okay with tickers are okay with the market at least going sideways. So you could see that even through this time, there were a lot of names that were still going up. And if we just even through here, we come down to a level, and if we do this for a while, if it does that, then there are a lot of names that will be able to take that as a green light and usefulness and be able to move up. Yeah, so brighter side, I do think we will get a bounce at some point, of course, because the market doesn't go straight up or straight down. And yeah, we'll just have to see when that bounce is. And let's see, so talking about Blink. Yeah, we're out of this name for now, but I do think that there's going to be something that's going on this thing at some point. I did say that this was bottom fishing and definitely bottom of the barrel. But what we need to look at is see if this thing is basically done going down. If it can at least hold in through here, then it can build a base and then move up eventually. So this is something we've seen across so many names that they stop going down. It might take them a while to actually turn and go up, but they stop going down, and that's kind of their first clue. And Blink might have that. It continues to run into its weekly 21s. And so it hasn't been able to break up there yet. There is a ton of volume that came in here. So hopefully that wasn't just a flash in the pan. And from that, we'll just have to give it some patience and see if it sets up again. And what that'll be is really whenever price starts to set up on the 15-minute time frame again. So we'll have to give it just more time. We don't know. Right now it's pulling back, so be it. And then we just wait. We just have to be patient while these things do this. Yeah, and then if we kind of let me come over here. If we look at LMND, this is another one we've kind of been talking about. Roku, LMND. These have been some of the names that have actually started pulling back before other names did. Like the cryptos just kept staying strong. Other names just kept staying strong. But LMND actually started to pull back earlier. And again, we could see that here with a perfectly timed Moxy price trigger. Even in addition to that, like what I showed you with the S&P and Apple of how to read the Moxy indicator, you could see that price was moving up. What was the Moxy indicator doing? It was down. It was going in a downward direction. It was red, green, red, green. It was not strong. None of this was strong. And so what that told you is that this up move was at risk, and basically any of these bounces were to not be believed. And sure enough, the Moxy indicator then went negative. So again, after that, you don't believe any of these moves. And then it started to get underneath a downtrend in the hourly 50, and then now it's starting to head back to the daily 50. That's fine. Again, I don't know exactly where this is going to go. The daily 50 was a target of mine, but of course, price can go below that. My target just meant that price was at least going to get there, and now we have to see what it does from there. In an ideal world, something around here would find support, and then it starts to move up, and we should be able to catch it on the way back up. I don't know when that's going to be, though. We have to wait for the market to tell us. We have to look there for those clues, those indications, see when the market has kind of worked off its overbought condition, and then actually starts providing some liquidity and some oomph for these names to go to the upside. Now, brighter side, talking about FSR, no. I can't. I don't see anything on this. Again, talk about really bottom fishing. This one's tough. The only thing I can say, and I'm not going to put too much weight on in this, is that it is so oversold that maybe there's a move to the upside simply because of that. But I am unwilling to really consider this one right now, or probably anytime too soon, because that's a lot of baggage to deal with. There must be a reason that this thing did what it did, and I don't really want to go fight that. Of course, I could be wrong, and maybe it shoots up because of a short covering, but this does not look like a stock that I really want to be dabbling with. So I'm going to move on from that one. And POWW, this is another one that I have at least seen, been watching, kind of keeping an eye on it. And like I showed you guys with Blink, remember Blink, we said, yeah, if they stop going down, that's kind of the first step. And I'm watching to see if Blink is going to do that. Is Blink done going down? It may not be ready to go up yet, but maybe what that means is that someday, eventually, it will want to move up like that, and then it's going to have to consolidate a little bit more, and then we start getting another move, and it's going to have to consolidate a little bit more. So something like POWW is making progress. There are other names that are better, but I am seeing this progress. It's finally breaking past these moving averages, and now we're seeing if it's coming back into support. And if it can hold that, then it can start to move up from there. And that is something to certainly be watching for. So yes, I do like POWW much better than something like FSR, but same thing. We gotta wait for the next go round, the next move to the upside for something like POWW. For example, we need to see the next this and the next this. There was a little bit of it, I guess, last year, like right at the end of the year, where we did get a move up like that, but it wasn't quite ready. You can see it ran into some of those moving averages. So now we just kind of watch this and see if it's going to hold here and if it can actually start another move. If it can, hop on board. If it doesn't do anything, then step aside. And then yeah, it's gosh, it's interesting. Yeah, brighter side. You talk about Para, which is Paramount, and we can also look at was it not MGM? What is the other? I have it on my list. Warner Brothers, WB. Can you guys help me with that? WB something, WBS, Warner Brothers Studios. I think maybe that's it is. And I've been watching them together because they kind of came on my radar when I heard about the strikes. And I want to say that this is probably part of the area with the strikes, got knocked down. And I thought, well, I hear that they're resolving stuff, and the Writers Guild and all that stuff that are getting better. I think they've stopped the strike and they've negotiated and stuff. And thought, maybe once all that turmoil is over, maybe these things are gonna start moving up. It's a nice idea, and maybe they are starting to, but just because that news, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a guarantee. So do keep that in mind. Yes, there's still a lot of work here, but there is the 8 over the 21. Yes, the Moxy indicator is above 0, and if this thing can finally break up and over, then sure, I could see there being a reason here. And Nick, I know the 5250 situation, so we're looking here too. We need to see if pullbacks like this start to hold and if they can actually move up, but they are still pulling back. So there's nothing that we can do quite yet. They haven't turned. So then, yeah, if we look at WB, same kind of thing. I've been watching these things, and yeah, check it out. Look at that volume. I know it was on a drop, but I feel like there's something related to, I don't know, negotiations, whether it worked out better or worse for them, and all that. But there could be some activity here. Again, I'm not really willing to play Paramount or Warner Brothers. Was that WB? Well, WB, Warner Brothers. WB is just Weibo. That's right. That's not going to work. So WBS. Oh, come on, guys, help me out here. Where's my watch list? Maybe we can find that real quick. I know it was WBD. Warner Brothers. Let's see if that was it. Yep, there we go. Warner Brothers Discovery. There it is. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, appreciate you guys, finding that out real quick. I knew it was one of those things. WBD. So yeah, that was part of the reason why I was looking at this. Is they were dying because of that the strike. But I'm noticing that there's a double bottom, and we're seeing some positive divergence. So I don't know. It's one of those things I just kind of wanted to keep an eye on. Maybe there's going to be something here. And again, with the Paramount and Warner Brothers, very similar pattern right there. So what we need to do is let this pullback play out and then see if it eventually works back to the upside. again, for both of these names, I don't really have high expectations. I don't know if Warner Brothers or Paramount are really going to be big winners or, huge names or anything else like that. They've been down for quite some time, and I don't have a good sense for them. So I don't know. The thought was maybe once the strikes are over, maybe they could rebound. So see what you guys can do about that. Let's see. M109 Rider. Yeah, good morning. The indicator is called the Moxy indicator, and it is, well, it's for purchase, not for subscription, but you can purchase it one time for, I believe, a lifetime membership. And yeah, you can pick it up at simplertrading.com. Just go for our indicator page, or you can call our customer service. We have it on Thinkorswim. We have it on stockcharts.com, and we have it on TradingView. So whatever kind of platform you're on, we probably have you covered. All right, so if I were to describe the indicator, it is a momentum-based indicator. And primarily the best way I find it to work is through divergences. So, if we go back to the SPY, we look at this, I'll show you one of the first things that set up this big move is notice how we had price go lower, but notice how the Moxy indicator went higher. There was your divergence to the upside. Okay, so that was telling us that this thing was ready to start moving to the upside. You could even see that all the way back in 2022. You could see here price was down, Moxy indicator was up, and there's your Moxy price trigger, and there's your Moxy price trigger. So yeah, that's how it works. Positive, negative divergences. You could see the same thing here. Price tried to go higher, but on less energy. And so it was telling us that it was likely to hit a pullback. The zero line, this big gray zero line, that just tells us above it is positive and below it, draw that better, positive and below it is negative. And so we're looking both positive and negative divergences, whether you're long or short. And then if it's green, that means that the momentum is increasing. If it's red, the momentum is decreasing. And the difference between the red and the green is trying to help tell you if it was an up momentum day or a down momentum day, or time frame for whatever time you use, because we can use the Moxy indicator all the way down to the 2-minute, the 1 minute, 2-minute, 5-minute, 15-minute, and if you want to do it, you can day trade. So yeah, that's pretty important here. In fact, like right here, look at the 2-minute. You can see that same divergence. Notice how price kept trying to go up and up and up throughout the day. Notice that the Moxy indicator was going down throughout the day. And where was the Moxy price trigger? Right at the end of the move. And where was the price trigger here? At the beginning of the move. So yeah, the Moxy indicator is great for day trading. It's good for swing trading. Well, okay. Are we still live in the on Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff? Let me know if we're still there. I gotta say, this might be a rough day for me. I'm a little under the weather, and I actually just hit but not even the power button on my computer. I hit the power button on my backup power supply. Good, goodness gracious. Oh man, I'm gonna have to probably take a nap today. But yeah, hit the power supply. Not, I hit the power supply on the thing that's supposed to keep my computers alive. Go figure. Um, anyway, so we're talking about Warner Brothers. We'll have to see. I don't think that there's going to be too much there. I don't know how exciting some name like that is going to be. Um, really, let's see. Yeah, let's see what else we were talking about the Moxy indicator, and then the other thing we can kind of talk about is yeah. So Hive, up like rockets, down like rocks, but I think they just needed to, they just outran. They just outran all of their support. I mean, these things got super frothy. I mean, look at Hive. Hive went, call it 45% in 8 days. When you get something like that, you're just gonna have to come back down at some point and find some support. Now, you look at this on a weekly time frame, and what's going on? Well, it hit the third ATR, it hit its previous high, and now it needed to come back down to reality. So, I think these names are going to keep going. This is what I've talked about even when they moved up. That as a swing trader, you don't want to ride through that whole thing because even Hive basically came back to our entry. I mean, this thing came all the way back to where we first started, but we took two entries on it. Then we took an exit, and then I felt, okay, we don't want to miss out on, anything and try to cut this thing up too much. But, something like this should keep going in the future. It just needs to do its ebbs and flows. I mean, this is normal stuff. If you look, I mean, even if we just look at the SPY, if we look at the SPY from the bottom of 2023, look at the waves, look at the waves that it had. But what it do? It ultimately went up. In fact, if we just say the S&P went up 32% over the course, well, I guess that was the low, that was October. So if we want to say from the other October, I mean, where was December? Right here, there's the new year. So it went up now 24% over the course of the year. But of course, there were significant pullbacks along the way. And so for something like Bitcoin and the miners, same thing. You got to decide that, how much do you want to ride this thing? And where do you want to get your entries and exits? And do you want to, cash in a little bit here and there? So that's all we try to do. If we look at, let me clean this up a little bit. If we look at something like this with, Bitcoin miners, gosh, Wayfair, Carvana, any of these really big moves that we've had, they're going to go up like awesome, but they're also going to come back pretty hard. And you can see the same thing with the S&P. Let's say from right here, if we look at this, compare it to Hive. Let's say we got in at the bottom, awesome, and we came up and we took some profits. Well, Hive just came back to our entry, didn't it? Well, as long as it continues to find support somewhere around here, then we can actually get back in, add to the position, and then we can run up the next run. And then you'll probably take some off up there and then you let it pull back and, hopefully higher, then we can add to it and then we run this up. Okay. So that's the thing is we try to ride these waves. And something like Hive should do something like that because you see the amount of volume that is coming in something like this. I mean, really, where was the volume? There's volume, there's volume, and there's volume. And each time they were up moves. And for as much as this thing has kind of been not going anywhere for a long time, it did make a higher low. It did make a higher low. And each move to the upside so far has been bigger. I'm waiting for this one to be the next bigger move. Because if this is going to turn out something like that, once this finally kind of comes back down and catches its breath, we should see a higher move based on what we're seeing out there. So that's why, with Warner Brothers or Paramount, I think we have better places to put our money because of that situation. They're just more exciting things to be looking at and to be trading. If we even look at Wayfair, what do we got? Number one, just like we talked about with Blink, what about Blink? it stopped going down. And yes, there was a move, but then it needed to base again. Like these things can take some time. But I think that at this point, I think we are starting to see actually the beginnings of a legitimate rally. They just have to take their time. So again, here's an up move, here's an up move, here is an up move, but I think that there should be another up move that it should be bigger than this previous one. We're seeing some really good stuff across the board out there. And, just a lot of names kind of already had a run from here to here for 2 months. And everything got overly bullish. And now we just need to recycle, reset, come back down, and we'll see about the next one. So, guys, we had we caught a really good stuff for November, December. The market pulled back for 3 months back here. I have no idea what this current pullback is going to look like. I don't know if it's going to be 2 weeks or 2 months. We don't know how deep it's going to be, but what I do know is we just kind of have to just go through the ebbs and the flows, because even if we look at W, hey, here was a great move. Okay, let it pull back. Here was a great move. Okay, let it pull back. Here is another good move. Okay, let it pull back, and let's see if there's another one that's going to be setting up sometime in the near future. Okay, this is everything that we need to see. And who was that? M109 Rider. So you want to talk about the Moxy indicator and some divergences? Check this out. Price up, Moxy indicator down. There you go. That was one of the things that we could see, in addition to what I talk about to people on the inside of the trading group. Like, hey, I put out posts all day, every day, trying to give education and stuff. So I do more than just put out trades and, take this, take that. I try to really educate you guys so that you can be like brighter side and, get fully educated and then, run away. Giving you a hard time, Nick. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah, so we got that. And let's see if there's anything else I can show. Oh, yeah, look at this. On a weekly time frame, back when there was 2020 and 2021, also check out this negative divergence. Notice there was a double top right here, and notice there was negative divergence right there. And then where was the Moxy price trigger? So, M109 Rider, if you're still there, this is the kind of stuff that we're looking at. This is how the Moxy indicator can be useful for you on a weekly time frame. And down here, like, look, we're now starting a new trend. You can see here's your Moxy price trigger to the downside. Here's your Moxy price trigger to the upside. Of course, that doesn't mean things are going to go straight up like that, but it does mean that momentum, I believe, has started to shift. And we're starting to see names like this start to pick up and pick themselves up off the floor. Carvana, same thing. I think we have finally started to see these things change. And again, with Carvana, I mean, look at this. You can even see the same thing. Here was price. Here we go. Price up. There was some negative divergence. There's your Moxy price trigger. And then even at the lows, here was price going level. Here's your positive divergence, and there's your price trigger. And you can see that even with Carvana, we made new highs. It didn't stick this time around, but we made new highs. And you can see it even put a gap in here. It got overbought. And so now we're going to have to come back down here, and we're going to see if this thing can, set up for the next cycle. But if you look, even on the monthly chart, isn't that an uptrend? I would certainly argue that that is an uptrend. Just like this was an uptrend. Yeah, we had COVID, and then that was an uptrend. So I'm seeing that there's a change out there that I want to be a part of. And we just have to be smart about when to catch the move, when to take some off, and then when to wait for the next setup. So, all right, guys, hopefully that kind of answers all your questions. Sorry about that little, dip out there. Again, I can't believe I've never done that before. Maybe I need to put a sticker on that thing so I don't do that again. But yeah, thanks for, telling me that everything was still working in the live stream on Facebook and YouTube and wherever else we have it. And then other than that, guys, I'm going to be with you in about 30 minutes in the options room and also in the Moxy room. And so we'll be able to talk more there and go a little bit deeper in all this stuff. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.